Guys, I hope you're all having a great Thursday. I wanted to spend a little time making a video that provided some additional explanation of sampling techniques. This is something that came up during our open session on yesterday. And I did spend some time looking for articles that use different types of sampling techniques, particularly stratified and clustered sampling. But the majority of what I found was in biomedical journals, and I really didn't want you guys to get bogged down in the details of the article itself and actually miss the sampling technique that was used. So I thought I'd do a really quick video to explain these concepts in a little more detail and to provide some examples for you. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about the different types of sampling techniques. The chapter starts by talking about random sampling, and random sampling is considered to be the gold standard of research. What we see here is that each person, each thing, each trait, each characteristic, whatever it is, has an equal chance of being chosen as part of your study. So this is unbiased representation of a total population. Now that total population can be the entire United States. It could be the entire population of Thailand. It can also be all folks with brown eyes, all people with depression, whatever characteristic it is that you are choosing for your particular study. So let's say that you are interested in knowing what everybody in the United States thinks about chocolate ice cream versus vanilla ice cream. So what you would do then is a random sample of every space, every place, every state, county, city within the United States. And this would be considered the entire population. You've randomly sampled the entire population of the United States. And as a result of that, you can then generalize your results to the entirety of the United States. So let's say that folks preferred vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream. Then you could say, for the most part, that the individuals in the United States prefer vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream. But you could say, well, I'm only interested in what brown-eyed people think about chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream. So individuals with brown eyes would become your total population because this is the group in which you're interested. You don't care about, what people with green eyes or blue eyes think about the chocolate ice cream versus vanilla ice cream. You're only concerned about people with brown eyes. And your results from this study then can only be generalized to people with brown eyes. You couldn't generalize it to people with eyes of a different color. In terms of stratified and cluster sampling, these are similar in the sense that we are taking a total population, so your capital N, and we are dividing that. We're breaking it down into subgroups or smaller groups. If we're doing stratified sampling, these smaller groups are called strata or stratum, singular. Or if we're doing clustered sampling, these smaller groups are known as clusters. So for example here, let's say that we are interested in doing some research with the second graders in the Oxford School District. And we have 6 different classrooms. So there's a Miss Black, Miss Blue, purple, brown, red. I'm sorry, I got that mixed up, didn't I? So there's a Miss Black, Blue, Purple, Red, Brown, and Green. So these are the 6 classes of second graders from which we are planning to draw our sample. So again, capital N, this is our total population. So all of the second graders, these smaller N's then are our smaller groups, our strata or our clusters, depending upon the type of sampling that we're using for our study. All right, so what we see here then in this picture that I have is that each of the classrooms are, assigned to a particular teacher. So we have Miss Black, we have Miss Blue, let's say we have Mr. Purple. Let's get some guys in there teaching second grade, right? So Mr. Purple, Mr. Red, and so on and so forth. So with stratified sampling, after we've taken the entire second grade population in Oxford School District, and we've divided them or categorized them according to their teacher, or we've broken them down into specific strata, The researcher then randomly selects from all of the classrooms. So if you're looking at the left side of the image here, you'll see that 2 students were chosen from Ms. Black's class, 3 students from Ms. Blue's class, 2 students from Mr. Purple's class, and so on and so forth. So with stratified sampling, each student in each of the 6 classrooms has an equal chance of being selected for the study. With clustered sampling, so we've taken all of the second graders and we have divided them based upon their classrooms. We still have the 6 classrooms, but then the researcher randomly selects by groups and not individual students. So each classroom has an equal chance of being selected for the study, but not each student. So if we're looking at the right-hand side of the image here, we'll see that with cluster sampling, only Ms. Black's and Ms. Brown's classes were selected to participate in the study. So students in the other 4 classrooms would not be included, would not be counted among the participants of this researcher study. Okay. So stratified and cluster sampling are used, again, depending upon the researchers. A lot of times this can be determined by, things like finances. Do you have enough money to do stratified sampling versus a cluster sampling? What about time? Are you in a time crunch? Do you need to get something done pretty quickly here? So these are some of the things or some of the factors that can be used to help you determine whether or not you want to do stratified or cluster sampling. The cluster sampling is generally used with marketing research. Sometimes we're looking at, in the previous example there, we were looking at students in a particular classroom or maybe even employees within an organization. So I have another example here. So researchers are interested in the attitudes about property taxes in Mississippi. So if we're doing random sampling, the researcher would randomly select among all Mississippians. And so one of the things to note about random sampling is that it doesn't necessarily mean that individuals from everywhere still in Mississippi would be selected from the study. It says that everybody has an equal chance of being selected for the study. When we're thinking about stratified sampling, the researchers would divide Mississippi into its 82 counties, and then they would randomly select participants from each of those counties. With cluster sampling, the researchers would randomly select 10 of the 82 counties and interview individuals who only lived in those counties. So the individuals from the other 72 counties in Mississippi would not be included in that cluster sampling. So there's pros and cons that are associated with all of these. But again, with your random sampling and with stratified sampling, researchers are generally much more confident in their ability to generalize results to the entirety of a particular population. Again, oftentimes the results are going to be more reliable and valid. That's not to say that cluster sampling is something you'd want to stay away from. It really and truly depends upon the type of research that you're doing and the type of results that you're interested in developing or finding after you're done conducting the study in and of itself. Okay. The last piece the chapter talks about is non-probability sampling, and this is where there's no random sampling involved. And some of the examples include convenience sampling. A lot of the research in social sciences uses freshman psychology classes. You generally have hundreds and hundreds of students in a freshman counseling or in a freshman psychology class. So researchers will go in as a captive audience. They will, interview, they will sample, they will give their assessments or whatever it is to that particular group of individuals. So they're not randomly choosing individuals from those psychology classes. They're going in, everybody's there, and they're able to collect the data that they need. There's also purposeful sampling, and this is where the researcher will select a group of individuals based upon the needs of the study. So if you are studying individuals who have depression, then you would intentionally or purposefully choose individuals with depression to participate in your study. There's also expert sampling. So for individuals who have been deemed and identified as expert in a particular area will be selected for a study. There's diversity sampling, where the researcher may choose members from each group in which he or she is interested so that all views will be represented. There's modal sampling, and if you guys remember just from basic stats, you guys are in basic stats right now, but modal is kind of it's one of the middle points that we use in statistics. So this is considered to be the most typical group of individuals, or most typical members of a particular group. There's quota sampling, and then there's also snowball sampling. And with snowball sampling, generally what happens is that you identify one individual who has the particular set of characteristics that you're interested in studying, and then you ask that person, well, do you know somebody else who meets these particular, parameters, or who have these characteristics that I'm interested in studying? And so from there, they'll recommend somebody, and maybe that next person will recommend another person or two. But that's what happens with snowball sampling. So again, I hope this video did a really good job or helped to clear up some confusion or answer some questions that you may have about sampling. If not, you know how to reach me. So give me a call, shoot me an email, and we will be in touch soon. Thank you.